I'm Dustin Starr, and this is my annotations review video. So I decided to do the effects of social media communications on consumer perceptions of the brand, and this was actually uh, a Polish study. So the names, it's actually not my handwriting for once. I may struggle on a little bit. It's by Bruno Skavinsky and Darusis Dabrowski. That's my best pronunciation of those names. So the goal of this study was to see if consumer created content and industry created content did the same things for the brand when they're marketing. I thought it was pretty cool because I'm a marketing minor, so I share a lot of the studies with the communications field. So um, this looks at brand attitude versus brand equity, and both have a positive correlation to what's called intent to buy. So that's another business thing. But brand attitude is described as the overall attitude that people have towards the product itself or the business itself, the business model, how you do things. Some people take green initiative. There's like big pull towards their social aspects and exactly what they do. The brand equity is how well known your brand is or how much of the market that they control. It's basically how much worth your brand is or your name. So how they did this is they took 60 different brands from 3 different categories. This is non-alcoholic drinks, clothing, and cell phone companies. So they monitored how each of them did their marketing communications. So they would look at each page and then they would see how many times this brand was posting and how much content was shared by the consumers on it. They had to have at least, I think it was two. It was two industry created content each week, and it had to be shared by consumers daily. So they did that, and for 2 weeks they posted questionnaires links on their pages, and they posted them. Well, they sent them to the consumers that liked their Facebook pages as well. So they posted screening questions like how often did you receive news from the brand? How often did you read the news? How often did you look at other people's posts? And that would tell them whether or not this was a good candidate for them. So some of them got vetted and other ones passed through. So this was the data was extrapolated from 504 that passed valid, and they took all those 504. 60% of the responses were from females. 78% was in the age group of 15 to 25, so mostly young people were doing these questionnaires. And they used the Likert scale, which isn't unheard of when you're doing questionnaires. It's 1 through 7. How much do you like this? 7 being very much and 1 being not at all. So that's what they used to do this. The results were the synthetic have no brand equity. So the industry created content didn't increase their equity at all. And remember that both brand attitude and brand equity show a positive correlation to the intent to buy. So without an entire half of the assets that they could get by the naturally created content that the consumers post, the synthetic doesn't get any more brand equity, and equity is worth a lot with intent to buy. So in my conclusion, I really like the way that they did this. They factored in a couple different aspects, like they vetted the right questionnaire responses, so that they would have better accuracy. Um, they really paid attention to whether or not uh, brand equity and brand attitude could be put into questions, and whether or not the data would actually be, accurate. It's kind of hard when you're creating those questionnaires to get it back to actual static data, instead of just ideas. Like how dimensional, like how many different dimensions to this idea are there, and how much how much can you actually pinpoint to be, you know your questions, how accurate are they, and how well do they represent the ideas of brand equity and brand attitude. So they paid attention to the way that they did their stuff. They were very serious about it. The only thing that I would have changed if I were to have done this is I would have made it way longer, maybe 6 months. They only did it for 4 weeks, which probably money. It's usually money when it comes down to research. But I would have taken at least 6 months, because just 504 questionnaires, when you're talking about something like mass communications or social media marketing, you're looking at views that go over 1 million. You look at YouTube videos. Some of the least popular ones have maybe 50,000 or 100,000, and some of the more popular ones have up to 20 million views. So if you're looking at data from 504 people, I don't think it's enough to extrapolate any, solid evidence from, just for the fact that social media, there's a lot of people that are gonna, be all about this brand or that brand. And when you do something like voluntary polling, you really kind of target only those people, because me and my brother used to have this joke. We'd get really bummed out about the data that we saw from this poll or that poll. Oh, it wasn't who we thought it would be, like who people would like. And my brother would always say something like, well, you know what they say, it's just the data is from people who were dumb enough to take polls. And that's not 100% true, but it does factor in. The more people have actually invested, like themselves invested in the brand or the politician or whatever it is in polling, the more they're likely to actually click on it. So you do get kind of polarizing viewpoints when you're doing something like that. But otherwise, I really like the data itself, and I think that it would be worthwhile to do it again, and definitely to be doing it for longer, and maybe take data out of thousands of questionnaires, more so than just 500. But thank you.